This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here with your latest Meteo Mundo forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas for this Monday, February the 5th. Hope you're having a great start to your week. I want to thank everyone who joined me yesterday for our live coverage of the storms that rolled through the Bahamas. And we have got a lot to talk about. That massive storm system, that area of low pressure that's still in the Gulf of Mexico and kicking waves of rain and storms across the Bahamas, and all of this wind will have significant impacts across a big part of our area through the week ahead. I'm talking about getting showers and storms and rain and wind deep into the Caribbean with this system. So we'll get into it. Thanks a lot for liking the video here on this early Monday afternoon. Take a look at our visible satellite imagery. Look at the spin there in the Gulf of Mexico. Very classic system. There's a lot of energy with this, okay? And we're still seeing waves of that energy rolling through the Gulf Coast states and into the Bahamas. And this will continue to provide the opportunity for showers and storms and some extremely windy conditions. Again, a lot of energy. That low is still going to work its way east into the Western Atlantic and get even stronger. So for the Bahamas, we've been dealing with waves of rain and storms, and we've been dealing with a lot of wind as well. As a matter of fact here, let me take off the satellite imagery and let me put on our surface observations. Those are current temperatures, which are cool, but take a look at these winds. Just in the last hour here, we've had a wind gust in Nassau of 43 miles an hour. We've had a gust inland in Cuba nearly at 50 miles an hour, and closer to where that center is of the low, once again, nearly 50 mile an hour winds. Cancun has had nearly a 40 mile an hour wind. We're up to nearly 30 in the Cayman Islands, like we got there briefly. And the winds are even freshening up in places like Puerto Rico and through portions of the Leeward Islands as well. Take a look here at Guadeloupe, a 37 mile an hour wind, and that's mainly a southeast breeze well away from the center. These winds are not being caused by that area of low pressure, but guess what? We're going to continue to see strong winds prevail. So wind is a big story. There's a gale watch that is currently in effect for the Bahamas all the way until Wednesday. We have a small craft caution right now, which is going to become a small craft advisory. We've got a lot going on. So let me show you here kind of the broad perspective of the radar loop here early on this Monday afternoon. I mentioned it yesterday. This system is not coming out clean. There's chunks of energy, impulses of energy being thrown out, and that is producing these showers and storms that continue to work their way into the Bahamas. The 43 mile an hour wind gust in Nassau was because they had a nice complex of storms move through here on this Monday afternoon, and we'll continue to see the opportunity for breezy or windy conditions with the storms for places like Freeport and Lucaya, Walker's Key and Marsh Harbor there in Abaco, Andros, New Providence, Eleuthera, and Bimini. And we could have some gale conditions, and I'm talking about winds, especially tomorrow, that could be gusting over 50 miles an hour. I mean, we already had a 43 in Nassau, so it is absolutely not out of the question. And the winds really are going to be a big story for a lot of us, because as this low moves off towards the east, guess what's going to happen? The winds are going to be pulled in with this. So let's take a look at this wind vector product. Again, this is going to show you the wind direction in your area. Purples and pinks are winds of over 20 knots. The whites are winds of over 30 knots. There are some extremely strong winds that will continue to be ushered in by this area of low pressure. So let's loop it together here. Again, the low moves off towards the east. It deepens or gets even stronger. Northern side of the Bahamas heads towards Bermuda. This is going to push north winds all the way deep into the Western Caribbean, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the northern side of the Leeward Islands as well. Everyone that I just mentioned is going to get a north wind. It's going to drive in some rain, and it's going to drive in some cooler and some light, slightly drier air. But this is a massive system that will have impacts for a lot of us, and even areas to our south. Again, very breezy conditions, although your winds from Dominica south to Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago will mainly be staying out of the south and to the east. Everyone else, even the ABC Islands, is going to get the opportunity for some north winds. So how strong are these winds going to be? Well, let's take a look at that. Switch over to this here, and again, we'll get back into it, and let me make sure that I've got the text on here, and you'll be able to actually see the numbers here. Let's do that right there. All right, and I'm going to make these just slightly bigger so they're just a little bit easier to see, and then space them out a little bit more. So again, let's get back into it here over the next couple of days. Again, the winds will begin to turn out of the north. So the arrows are pointing where the wind is going. So it's a north wind. And look at all of these whites here up towards Grand Bahama and Walker's Key that are well into the 30s. So we're going to have, again, gale force conditions in this area through at least Wednesday morning. All right. It's not going to be relaxing until then. Very strong winds. Small craft should be staying in port. We're going to have seas in the offshore waters running easily in the double digits. And we'll finally begin to relax our winds as we get into Wednesday and Thursday just a little bit. But again, these north winds will continue to drive in for Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. It's a real fresh wind. There's not a gale warning, at least as of yet, that I saw for Kingston or Jamaica in general in the Cayman Islands, but very strong winds through, again, Tuesday afternoon, maybe at latest Wednesday. This is going to drive in some rain, better chances for showers coming in with this wind shift as well. You want to speak about getting some good opportunity for rain. That's going to be for Hispaniola, but especially Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. There's actually a flood watch that is currently in effect for some of these areas because we're going to get the opportunity for a half foot of rain, 6 inches of rain or more in some of these areas here. And again, strong breezes to go along with it. So that's kind of the component of the winds. And it's not going to be shocking almost anywhere in the Caribbean and the Bahamas to have wind gusts the next couple days, 30, 40 miles an hour, or even slightly higher. Unbelievable wind coming along with this. So let's get into the rain. Let me show you here our Future Track rain product. And again, we'll go back out over the next 5 days, and there's several areas that I want to get into a little bit more detail on as well. But the first thing I want to show you is the broad perspective. Again, this low spinning up, the showers and storms associated near that center of low in the Bahamas. But look at this spiraling and all of the moisture it's going to be bringing over portions of the Caribbean, including the Lesser Antilles, especially the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, up to the Turks and the Caicos as well. Before we get into kind of zooming in on it, I want to kind of talk about some of the areas that we should really be keeping a close eye on. For the Northwest Bahamas, it's really the wind, because gale force winds of 35 to 55 miles an hour in gusts are possible through Wednesday morning. That's why we have a gale watch in effect. Flooding of low-lying areas as well. We'll talk more about the rain coming up, but we've had waves of rain. Tidal issues could be a concern with all of this north wind as well. For Puerto Rico and the British Virgin Islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, excuse me, not the British Virgin Islands, but the U.S. Virgin Islands, we're going to have widespread 3 to 6 inches of rain between now and Thursday morning, especially tomorrow and Wednesday, locally up to 8 inches. We could have a flash flood concern in some of these areas. So let's get into some of those details. We'll start off right now with what's going to be happening in Puerto Rico. So let me zoom in on that. Now, as this front comes in with the wind shift, look at all of the moisture that's going to be setting up. We're going to have widespread heavy rain beginning to develop tomorrow through Wednesday, still some good heavy rain on Thursday, and then breaking apart a bit as we get into Friday. So I'm going to stop the loop here at the beginning again, and we'll kind of time it out. I don't expect a lot of rain for the remainder of the afternoon hours of this Monday. As we get into this evening, the rain will begin to develop, but it's really not until tomorrow morning, you can see the model, tomorrow at around 7 a.m., that the rain begins to flourish. And there's ample moisture. Unlike typical February, where the moisture is very shallow in the atmosphere, there's a big column of pretty moisture-laden air, which is why we can get this heavier rain. And that shift in wind direction is going to allow for this rain to sit over the islands for a couple of days in a row. So again, as we get into Wednesday, it's a 90% chance for showers, and some of this is going to remain on the heavier side. And look, the British Virgin Islands could get some heavier rain as well in the northern Leeward Islands, but at this point in time, the flood watches are for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. But it's not going to shock me if eventually the British Virgin Islands and portions of the Leeward Islands might fall under some kind of flood watch or flood advisory as well. It will finally begin to fade on Thursday and as we get into Friday. But I will talk a lot more about the total precipitation in this area coming up in just a second. I do want to mention as well, Anguilla, in St. Kitts and Nevis, in St. Martin, in Barbuda, in Antigua, in Montserrat, Guadeloupe, you could also get some heavier rain as well. Many of these areas could have several inches of rain between now and Thursday morning. And you can just see that wave coming in here. So it's going to get wet. It's going to get windy, mainly starting later tomorrow. Wednesday's kind of the bullseye day where I think it's just a really crummy day with a lot of wind and rain. Let me know in the comments section below if you live in this area and how to prepare for it. And this rain will drop down into places like Dominica and Martinique. Now, it gets a little bit more spotty St. Lucia, Barbados south. We're going to get some rain in these areas, but we're not going to get the heavier concentration of rain because kind of this system is pulling more east than dropping south. And what we're really doing is we're tapping into some moisture here in the southeast Caribbean. And you notice that that's going to pull in some rain for the ABC Islands. So that's our next stop here on our radar tour. You can see there'll be some spotty showers in this area. It's still not going to be a ton, but rain chances certainly up from where we've had them for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And again, it's mainly going to be a quick wind shift out of the north. Even Aruba and Bonaire and Curacao will get a little bit of a respite from the heat and the humidity. It may only last 24 to 36 hours here, but again, we'll have some showers there. I mentioned Hispaniola. Let me get back up into there. Here's the interesting thing. Because this rain is actually coming out of the north, portions of Haiti will have just as much of a high rain chance as portions of the Dominican Republic. And Port-au-Prince could see some rain, same thing for Lacaille, especially the northwest side of Haiti as the rain kind of skirts on the northern edge. But Santo Domingo and Punta Cana certainly will be in the mix for some pockets of heavier rain. For my friends in Jamaica, let me swing back over here. Again, we're going to get breezy conditions, very, very breezy conditions the next couple of days. Winds will begin to relax on Wednesday. Now, you're going to miss the highest moisture content in the atmosphere. What that means is you're not going to have the best chance for widespread rain, but the rain chance is going to be there for the rest of today through at least Wednesday. So I have the Kingston 5-day forecast coming up here a little bit later in the video, so stick around for that if you live in Jamaica. Show you again the spotty showers here, a little bit more trying to work its way back in on our Wednesday. Wednesday is probably going to be the highest chance for rain across the area of Ocho Rios and Montego Bay. Notice everything's kind of scattered in nature, but still a pretty decent chance for some showers here on Wednesday. And then as we get into latter half of Thursday and Friday, it does begin to dry out a little bit. Not a lot of rain on the board for Thursday and Friday. Now, is there any one area that has a little bit better chance for some rain? Probably not. On the western side of the island, Montego Bay, Savannah, Lamar, Negril, Westmoreland Parish, you can see again, showers will continue to kind of develop in the afternoon hours the next few days. I would say this, because we're going to have a northwest wind that is going to batter the coastline for Negril and Montego Bay. Very, very rough conditions on the northwest side of the island. Even the eastern side of the island will get some decent rainfall totals as well. It might not be as much for Port Antonio, but Kingston and Maypen and Mandeville, and on the northern side of the island towards Ocho Rios, yeah, certainly the possibility for some scattered showers. That northwest wind is going to drop temperatures down. We're going to have some lower 80s for daytime highs across the island. Hey, if nothing else, you get a break from some of that heat and humidity. I mentioned the 40-mile-an-hour winds in Cancun right now. Most of the strongest rain is going to stay off towards your east. Will be some scattered showers the next couple of days. And like most areas that I'm mentioning, things will be getting a little bit drier there later in the week. Let's focus on what's going to be happening in the Bahamas. I'm going to switch over here to our HRRR model. And we'll go back into reflectivity here, and then I'm going to loop this up because this is an area that will continue to see some very strong conditions for us here. So here we go. Let's see here. I'll take off the, let me take off the vectors here. It's going to take forever to loop if I don't do that. Okay, so let's loop this up. And again, we're going to see that spin right over Grand Bahama and Walker's Key as we get into tomorrow and early on Wednesday. This is going to be a system that will continue to deepen and get stronger right over our area. We'll continue to see plenty of energy, plenty of instability in the atmosphere, producing widespread showers and storms. That's why we have the isolated flood threat and very brisk north winds. Again, gale force conditions are likely in this area, driving in the rain, but also making it extremely, extremely dangerous to be out and doing any kind of boating. And some of this wind could just simply cause some power issues as well. I mean, again, you can see this. This is the model here. Right about now, that complex of storms coming through. Here comes a second wave as we get into the evening hours. Now we start to see that spin become a little bit more prominent as we get into the wee hours of Tuesday morning, and then throughout the day on Tuesday. And eventually here, you can just kind of see everything's moving from north to south because that spin is with us and it continues to to just drive in these showers through at least Wednesday morning. Some exceptional winds to go along with this. Let's look at the wind gust product here. Actually, let me make sure to get over here, and there we go. And then let me just make sure here I take off that layer. That should work. Let's see here. Let me make sure I can get off the reflectivity. There we go. I don't want to show you too many things at once. So on this product, again, when you're looking at the yellows, you're looking at winds of over 30 knots, all right? When you're looking at the reds, you're looking at winds of over 40 knots, and the pinks are winds that could potentially be over 50 knots. And you know, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology has stated that they expect winds to gust over 47 knots. That's well over 50 miles an hour, closer to 55. And again, you get the idea. As we get into late tomorrow, here's the 6th tomorrow, look at those winds in the northern side of Abaco and east of Walker's Key and Freeport and the Grand Bahama there, and then deep into the central Bahamas. I've been focusing on the northwest Bahamas, but I also want to say for the central Bahamas, there's a lot of wind coming with this as well. There's your twist, there's your spin, there's your 40 to maybe 50 plus mile an hour winds coming in with it. So very, very rough conditions. Let me know in the comments section below here in this area what you've been seeing lately, and just know you've got a couple more days of some extremely, extremely strong winds. Okay, let's take a look at the total precipitation because, again, we have a flood threat. We've talked about the wind. So let me take this out in time. I'm going to go all the way through the end of the week here. Let me just switch over to the GFS model. And as I'm doing so, again, I would appreciate you liking the video. It helps us out tremendously. We've had some great viewership of the last several videos. Please let your friends and family know about us. And if you're not a subscriber, click that subscribe button, notification bell on. You'll know that when we have that brand new content for you. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We got the total precipitation for us here. And again, we're looking through the rest of the week. We'll start off in the Bahamas. And again, what I expect is widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain. All right, let me see here. Should be able to now query this, I hope. Let's see. Give me just 1 second. I don't really want to stop the video. So hopefully I can figure out why this is not letting me query. There we go. Just took a second. Okay, so 1 to 3 inches of rain in the Bahamas through generally Wednesday. We're not getting a lot of rain on Thursday and Friday, but there's your 2+ inches near Freeport in Weston and Walker's Key. There's your 1 to 2 in Nassau. But again, we've already had some heavier rain on our Sunday. So this is in addition to all of the rain that we've already seen. So in some areas, it'll end up being more like 3 to 4 inches of rain. As we get into the Turks and Caicos, another bullseye of some rain here of around 2 to 3 inches. Matthewtown, Cockburntown could see some of that rain. I mentioned Hispaniola. You can see on the northwest side, maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain. I don't expect any flooding issues with the rain in Hispaniola, including the Haiti side. That's good news. Now here comes your swath of extremely heavy rain. The Weather Service has even highlighted the eastern and the southern and the interior portions of Puerto Rico for the highest rain totals, and the GFS model has picked up on that. So not as much rain for the northwest side of the island. For San Juan, again, I think it's underdoing a little bit. More than likely, we're going to at least be over 2 inches of rain, and it's the same thing for places like Esperanza and Fajardo as you get down towards St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. A nice bullseye of rain near Roadtown there in the British Virgin Islands. Now, the GFS is basically taking some of these higher totals and keeping it east of Puerto Rico, more bullseye towards the British Virgin Islands and portions of the Leeward Islands. So now we have, you know, this 3+ inch totals for Barbuda and Antigua, nearly 3 inches in St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, maybe 2 inches of rain. So heavier downpours. Certainly would want to say some minor flooding is possible in these areas, all the way down towards Guadalupe. Again, a bullseye of maybe up to 4 inches of rain. It is a sharp cutoff south of Dominica. Again, this system stays to the north, so we really start to see those totals come down very quickly as you move through Martinique and St. Lucia and St. Vincent. Barbados, a spotty shower over the next 5 days, but many dry hours there. Same thing for Trinidad and Tobago. Over towards the ABC Islands, again, a decent opportunity for some rain. It's going to add up to about 1/2 inch in most spots. I think that this is a very good average. I don't expect any big issues with any of the rainfall totals there, but they're going to get some. It's about the same scenario for my friends in Jamaica. Again, there's going to be pretty widespread half-inch rainfall totals over the next couple of days. No one area will see a little bit more. If I wanted to favor a spot for a little bit more rain, I would say the far northwest side of the island because of the wind direction. So Negril and Montego Bay and just the western Hillier areas with a slightly better chance for some showers. But notice that the model here for Mandeville and Maypen and Kingston keeps everything right around a half-inch of rain. And then for the Cancun area, it's really not a bad forecast. I know there's a lot of wind right now, but if you're going there or you're vacationing there, it's going to be a pretty good forecast relative to what the rest of the Caribbean and the Bahamas is going to see. Okay, so let's take a look at some of our 5-day forecasts I wanted to mention. We'll start off in San Juan. There is a flood watch that is going to go into effect tomorrow morning through early on Thursday morning. Again, we are looking at widespread 3 to 6 inch rainfall totals, locally up to 8 inches, especially on the eastern and the southern sides of Puerto Rico. I'll keep a very close eye on that. So heavy rain the next couple of days. The rain continues on Thursday and really only breaks apart on Friday. Daytime highs that will be falling back into the lower 80s. For Kingston, again, 40% chance for showers today. I think the best chance for rain overall is tomorrow. It's a 60% chance. We'll have really strong northwest winds. The winds will begin to relax a little bit on Wednesday, a 50% chance for showers, and then we will dry out as we get into Thursday and Friday. But that north wind will pull in slightly cooler and less humid air, should feel very comfortable across the island, especially on Wednesday and Thursday with highs just into the low and a couple of mid 80s. Friends, remember you can find us on all of our social media platforms, on Instagram, My Meteo Mundo, TikTok, Meteo Mundo. Follow us there. We do some exclusive content for TikTok. You can get us on X. We have a Facebook page. You got a picture, you got a video you want to send us, mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Of course, I am always happy to answer your questions in the comment section below. If you have a question about the forecast, just remember to let me know where you're viewing us from, and I'm happy to answer and respond to that. And again, thank you for liking and subscribing. Get ready for the wind and the rain across a lot of the area. I'll keep you updated, friends. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.